We are back from the Transfinder's annual Client Summit. What an amazing event. It was great to see so many of you in San Antonio. On the last day, we decided to do our best practices webinar live before a studio audience. We had some audio issues at the beginning of the webinar, but we resolved those issues so you could hear the bulk of the webinar now. So we now join the best practices webinar, The Power of You, already in progress.
And I thought there's another level actually even before this, and that's the maps. Because if the maps aren't right, the routes aren't going to be right. And so Bryan ISD was lucky enough to bless transportation and auxiliary services with a brand new complex, which we move into at the end of this month. So we're going to be stripping down the routes because we got a new start point and a new end point, and it takes us in a totally different direction now. We're no longer central in the district, we're off on one side. So there's going to be route timing and efficiencies that we need to look at. So our goal is we're going to take it all apart, we're going to build them all up again. And having the training that we got on Route Finder Plus, but then to sit into the map editing now and be able to take that back to my routers and go, okay, guess what? I learned this. And so when we start building those routes, we can actually fix the maps even better. And so hopefully our routes will be better. So guess what? That affects our stop finder.
Awesome.
So,
thank you very much. That's great. Michael?
My big aha moment was shuttles and transfers. I have been able to avoid that for the last 30 years. It is so complex, and I mean, so many different flavors of routing that includes transfers and trying to get kids assigned to buses and a list that actually produces kids and gets them to the right place and the right location. So I was very reluctant to even go into this class, but came out. It was fantastic. What I learned from Brittany was the why and the how the program works. I didn't want to just her go in and do one for me and do it and say, okay, I'll just duplicate that and keep doing it. I needed to know why it did it the way it was done, why it was set up the way it was set up. And that means a lot to me. And I can't wait to go back and start messing up someone's transfers and shuttles.
That's great. That's great. Courtney?
I think my aha moment was going into form finders. That was a big thing. That was my goal going into this conference. Learning how I can take all of the paper out of our office. That's a huge goal. That's, you know, you're cutting out the errors in between, that timely manner of reports. That's huge. That's huge for your district, and pinpointing different things, your student discipline, running reports on that so you can see what area is giving you the most grief or what you can do to get that to the principal a little faster. Because in Ohio, we have to send it to the school then does the discipline. But also with that, we could be proactive and have reports sent to parents as soon as there's an issue, so that way they're aware of it. Communicating with a lot of other districts, learning that they use form finders for pre-trip and post-trip. On top of that, they use it for emergency forms. And I think that's huge. When you are dealing with a bus accident, being able to pull up that data and have it ready to go to a police officer. We've all been there where you're pen and paper writing down all the students and making sure you got the proper seat and all their information to send over there. So if you can do that even quicker, that helps everyone.
That's awesome. You know, the form finder, I remember when Tony first talked about, like, you know, you guys got to see this, you know, that the idea of keeping everything within the system, right? And when we've had panelists on who have talked about even digitizing it, but through Google Docs, he can't get on the camera quick and on the mic going, guys, that's not secure. That's not a secure document, you know? So just keeping everything within the security of Transfinder technology is kind of critical as well. And also now you can chat finder, you can, you know, send it to others within as well quickly. That's awesome. So Mike, you have an intriguing bullet point you share with me about something you learned about. No, Laura, I'm not going there yet. I keep everybody wondering what I'm talking about here. about filling over capacity. One thing you learned about is when you're routing, fill those buses beyond the actually number of seats available.
So
Did you hear that? Tell me a
yes,
little bit about it.
yes. I've been to multiple districts and trying to help with driver shortage. You know, that's our number one issue that we have right now. But when I sit down and I look at the routes and how they were built, you know, their bus capacity may be 72 passengers, and for elementary, and they would actually go into a planned community and only assign 72 kids to that bus, as if 100% of those students are going to ride every time, and they don't. So, you know, I went to the point and I said, let's put 150 kids on that bus, because if half of them ride, we're filled up to capacity. But a lot of reasons why why routers did it that way is because at the beginning of the school year, you don't know who's going to ride and who's not going to ride, and you don't want to overfill a bus and then have to undo the route and redo the route. But at the same time, if you don't have enough drivers, you can't create routes where you don't have the resources to do it. If I only have 100 drivers, I cannot have 150 routes. We have to have some kind of a game plan. So every capacity depends on the size of the students. So your high school students, there's 48 kids. Some districts we're routing 48 kids on that route. And you have to put at least 100 kids on there to get half of them. It'd be a little bit more than half. But high school students, are they perfect attendance also? You know, so you got to account for that and be a lot more efficient. If you're at 60% or less capacity on your bus and time, then there's issues. And so you just have to take the risk, and it's a lot easier to break down one or two routes than it is to add multiple routes. So that's been my
that requires attendance, right? Because a bus driver is probably not going to tell you, yeah, I only got 4 kids on my 72. Is that the size of a bus? You know, they're probably not going to tell you. So if you're taking attendance, then you're kind of keeping them honest, correct?
You have to take attendance. And so before technology was available, we actually had people standing at the campuses and counting kids as they get on and get off the buses so that we know. Because, you know, I came from being a driver also, and I didn't understand the reasoning behind that. When I was a driver, they asked me how many kids I had on the bus. It was 40 every single time. That was always my answer, regardless of how many kids I had.
Did you change it a little bit, like 41,
No.
39, just to make it a little realistic?
I did 40 every single time, and they knew that was not true. So, but you know, if your drivers don't understand why you're asking the question, it's not to give them more work. It's to make the job better for everyone.
Well, it kind of is to give them more work, a little bit. Yeah, please do.
So Mike was talking about something, and I came to my mind of how we started using a little bit. One of the features of Plus is that it has an ability to compare routes or even overlay a route on a route. And if you have been in transportation long enough, you know at the beginning of the year, you have probably more routes than you need, and you've got a lot of kids assigned to buses who may or may not be riding. And by the first 30 days are up, you're starting to go, okay, what can we do here to combine some routes or to maybe reassign some stops to other routes so things run more efficiently? And and because we got Plus in at December, we've been able to kind of see that now towards the end of the school year, because at the end of the school year too, you start seeing people leaving, you know, the last few weeks of school. Yeah, I don't want to be a bus driver anymore. And you know, I want to do this anymore. So I got an open route. What are we going to do? We got all these stops. So we've been using this feature to look at, okay, this bus is going in this area. What other buses go in this area? And we kind of overlay maps so that we can figure out, maybe we can move these stops and then get coverage, and we can eliminate that route. Now we may bring it back next year, but right now I got to eliminate it because, as Mike said, you've only got 100 drivers. I can't have 110 routes. So that's a feature we've been utilizing, and I love it, because even as I have to drive a route and cover routes every now and then, I'm going, so why do I see them going on the same street? I'm following a bus, and I'm like, we're using, and we, you have the same stops usually in a neighborhood. You route to the same stop depending, no matter what the grade level is. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, so why can't we do this? And I'll go back to the routers and go, pull it up. Let's look at this. Let's look at the route. Who's why am I traveling behind this bus and we came out of the same school? When I could move this stop and I could actually put this other bus somewhere else to assist maybe a bus that's too crowded. So thank you there's another aha moment.
So Courtney, you talked about what just transpired here live, learning from each other too. And you mentioned that to me as one of your highlights of our conference. So did you learn a lot of stuff from other, not just from our experts, which we do. We have we had 47 people, by the way, that are Transfinder. And I was like, I had Tony, wasn't it you that I was talking to? You go, really? 47? We really have 47 people coming? So it was like that many. But you also learn from each other.
Just picking the brains of what other districts do, their policies and procedures and why they have those in place. It's good. It's a good sounding board to see like what they're doing and how other states run things. And it's always interesting to say, oh, why do you do it that way? And to hear the response. And I mean, it's been great to kind of pick their brains on different map editing stuff and like copying the routes and how to do the next year rollover and edits. I mean, it's been great.
That's awesome. And I think sometimes having somebody who also has a fresh perspective also adds. I think sometimes people always think it's only the veterans, but sometimes when you have somebody who's new to the industry, they have a fresh set of eyes too. And they're not as beholden to the way somebody in one of our panels yesterday said, we never did it that way before. That could be a killer, So a fresh set of eyes. You gonna say something, Mike? You look, you were ready to say something.
I'm gonna say something because you just said about having really a bias, right? You have a bias when you have a softer product, and so our clients that went directly to Plus, they didn't have Pro. Those have, because obviously Pro and Plus, we've added functionality, but really removed several steps that you had to do in Pro. So a lot of our clients that have Pro and went to Plus, they still had those steps in their head. It's like, oh man, how do I do that? Like, no, you don't do those 5 steps anymore. It's this one right here. So believe me, it was easier for someone that never used Pro, jump onto Plus and actually saw all the bells and whistles. For someone that's actually been using Pro for years, like, all right, you said do like 5 things here. Where's that 5 steps? Like, no, it's just that one thing. Or you don't even have to do it again. And so those are really the things that we're trying our best to say, all right, you have Pro, try to forget certain things, Obviously, stops are stops, streets are streets, but we want to make sure that the editing streets is much easier. I love forums. I mean, I think now with creating records, you can do so much with forums. I think, and you can use forum throughout the district. It doesn't have to be just transportation, But I think that's, when you're talking about going from Pro to Plus, we've seen that people that when just started in Plus, just like a fresh mind, right? Someone that's never been in the street. They start clicking on things like, oh, wow, why do we do it this way? We've learned a lot from those people because they didn't have the bias. They already, they don't know anything. So they're already saying, well, why do we have to do it this way? I don't know, because that's what other people have done. So we've actually said that same thing.
We have.
But I love those new people, right? Because they don't know about.
And they're not afraid to break.
They're not afraid.
Either.
So
I'm going to open up to the audience. I promised you I was going to get to you. I know you're like, boy, when is he going to get to us? And so some takeaways that you have, and I may have to repeat it because I'm not sure that they can hear everything. So that's smart for me to do that, Zach. Okay. So give me a takeaway that you got. And since you're right in front of me.
I think one of the things is when you are live and coming to ACS, me personally, when I was a transportation director in the Ohio area, actually, and now in Tennessee, came on board in Tennessee, we needed to bring Transponder to the district, and we did so. So we came in with a team that had never been on it before. And knowing that we just did this 4 months ago, and the support that we saw virtually was phenomenal. And pick up a phone, email them, they'll get right back to us. But seeing those same folks here at ACS that you've already built relationships with, and hearing it live and in person in the classroom, it's the next level. I mean, it's already great, and it's the best to be here. Because you can say, one of our trainers, Lauren, hey, Lauren, we just talked about this last week virtually. What about this? And so it's just neat to be a client, to come here and to see and make relationships. And another thing is, I'm sure from the bottom to the top and top to the bottom, it's you clients, you want to do this, but everybody knows our name. I mean, and it's personal with Transfinder. So
that's awesome.
That live here in ACS.
Do you ever have a hard time though recognizing someone without the box around them?
Their
like,
height is-
yeah, you know, yeah, like Shay. Shay is a lot taller. He goes, hey, you didn't know. Very good. So basically, in person, just heightens that experience with the company.
I mean, no, I'm joking, but still, I mean, you get so much out of it. You know?
That's great.
Really, and we can go different tracks.
Yeah,
There's
right.
so many different.
Like an hour and a half of class instead of an hour, you know.
You know, we didn't know this. Obviously, it's been 5 years, so we didn't really know, and so we were a little bit nervous. Like, we had to shut down registration because really, this space would not fit, and so we had to shut it down. Which is wow, that's amazing. So yeah, we're already looking at places for next year, and hindsight, we probably should have started doing that a few months ago. But again, we didn't know. We didn't know how many were going to just show up. But we had to shut down registration. That's how exciting it was. And I know the team.
But Tony doesn't want it to get any bigger. He likes to keep things kind of status quo, right? No, he wants a double probably. So go ahead.
Just to add to that, before you move on, talking about the size of the conference and the ability to learn so many different things from leadership in the department to the routing team. Bring as many people as you can. There are transportation directors in this session, but also it's a lot for the routing team. So we brought multiple people from our district.
And also you can divide in.
Good for directors and the routing team.
And I know many different districts that divided and conquered, and they went to multiple. And I know they said when we get back, we're going to have a powwow about what did you do, what did you learn, and share. So
look for fleet. Obviously, we're doing a big thing with Service Finder. I think you're going to have actually fleet managers coming to these things soon. We will, because we're doing so much now with Service Finder.
and several IT people were here as well, so that was good. Somebody else, another, in the back. Forms. Right. Very good. You're asking a question. So what are I'll open this to everybody. And Tony, you can share from what you know from the districts you've spoken to. What are some of those most critical forms that have been created?
So I was creating them in class while we started and trying to go along with it and see. And I was actually texting my secretary the whole time, like, hey, pull this up. I have a new form. Let's see how we can get this set up. We haven't rolled out any yet. We're the same, like Lori, like you want to inch into each product. That is the biggest thing. The solid foundation is going to be your Route Finder Pro Plus, and then keep building on that. So we took that and we went to Stop Finder. Parents love it. We love that they don't have to call us. They just text us when Johnny leaves his sweatshirt on the bus. We're like, all right, found it. It'll be there tomorrow. So each product gets better and better. I mean, you get excited too, because it's not like you're ever at that stagnant, like, okay, well, the product is what it is. I mean, I've had previous districts that I've worked with, and the product is not even close to this. You have a bunch of papers that you're printing out for your drivers, and it's take a left on unknown, take a right on unknown, continue forward. And
Is that where the streets have no name?
Yes,
like
yes.
U2 song? Yeah, a little bit. I won't sing it. But.
So, I mean, I'm excited. One of the biggest things is going to be student discipline forms for us, because I want to get them to the schools faster. But I think we might add a form in there that gets sent home to parents right away when the issue comes up, to be that buffer in between.
Awesome.
So for us, I sat through, because we're getting ready to roll out Stop Finder, and sitting through the class about how you're going to market Stop Finder, some of the features of Stop Finder and the forms that are built in there. So currently we have another company yet again that we use that sends out what we call parent links. If the bus is running late, if it's mechanical breakdown, it's been an accident, whatever. There are no templates in this. And I have a dispatcher who is trying to manage the phones, the radio, and now getting out these notifications with no template. So she's having to quickly write something, and I'm going, oh my gosh, Stop Finder, I can't wait to go back to the district. And I also think about my team, who would be good at what? And I'm looking at Okay, I want some forms. I don't want them to be too Texas slangy, but I also don't want them to be so ultra professional that, our parents are kind of feeling a little like we're a little standoffish from them. So I'm thinking, who can write me some really good template forms that we can put into StopFinder that all my dispatcher has to do when we're getting buses out the gate at 5:36 in the morning and something breaks or a driver calls in at the last minute and we got to cover a route and we're going to have to shift some things around. Can she get a form and plug in a bus number and a time frame or just the key points, and that we can highlight it, and all she's got to do is select that form and send it. I cannot wait.
You're gonna love it.
I cannot wait till that
best.
happens, because we're swapping buses. She's now got to go into three different software programs that we have to make sure that the parent sees the right bus, and nightmare. So I cannot wait to get back. And I've already been thinking, who in my staff is going to get the job to write me some, y'all, the bus is running late today.
You are gonna love StopFinder then. It's the perfect product for that, because we used to use School Messenger. With that, we couldn't pinpoint like the exact bus number. We couldn't pinpoint the bus stop. Now you have a bus breakdown in the morning. I can click on that last stop and select all.
Yeah.
And then just send out a notification to those families and say, hey, your bus is running 10 minutes behind. Look for this bus. Oh, the communication, you are gonna love it. And then when you talk about those letters that you wanna send out, you can already just copy and send it in there and just edit that line. And so, I mean, it's right at your fingertips. It's quick, to the point. It's wonderful. I cannot preach it enough, because I live in a district that communication is key. They are going to come at you if they are more than 10 minutes behind. Why did they not get a notification? And so making sure that we can be proactive to that any way possible is huge.
So let me tell you a little bit about why we did forms. It's really the idea. You guys always hear that we want feedback. We really want feedback. We always saw that get feedback, create forums for parents' feedback, employee feedback. It could be anonymous, or it has to be that they have to be users, of course. But that was the whole idea. So we've added functionality that you could create a area, could say, hey, forms could only be submitted if you're in this space, this geographic area. So you could limit that. It can't just be somebody from Arizona filling out an Ohio form, Yes.
That is one of the things that I went in class that I loved, because everyone has field trips, and you have the ones that are on the weekends. And so you also have those drivers that you're like, were they really here this long?
That's right.
Like, what's going on? Being able to set that geo boundary is huge, because you're like, well, you have to fill it out here on the tablet, all of that kind of stuff. And I love that.
And there's more items in there that we just added that now you could create records, but also, it's all questions, right? All different type of questions. But one of my favorite question is a map related question. So you actually could create a question that is select a spot on a map or draw a shape. So you actually could have parents say, hey, there's some bad activity going on here, or you could have the community use it. I mean, this could be so much more. It really is. So we keep adding features to that product.
Other companies or other products that are out there, everything we do is location based. You know what I mean? So that's what makes us unique. You can do, it's just one thing that makes us unique. You want to do a survey. You could just survey people. Some people might say, we're going to survey everybody from A to L. Well, how helpful is that? How about we want to know everybody who's north of this river? That we have a problem area over here. Everybody else seems to be happy, but so maybe we just survey people in that area. So everything is location.
Well, how about surveying, Mike did it best, right? You keep increasing capacity until it hurts, right? Until some kid oh, I guess we went too far. But it could be.
You can't sit in the stairwell. You can't sit in the stairwell.
But why not?
Kid, right?
Why not use Form Finder to say, and I know many of you are starting doing it, that you have to opt in. You have to opt in. You're eligible, but you have to opt in, right? Not opt out. No one's going to be opting out. I would say opt in. So in other words, here, fill out this form, and then really now with the new functionality, it could go right into your system. So you could just ask parents, hey, because we have a driver shortage, we've noticed you only show up 3 times last year. Is your son or daughter planning on doing the same thing next year? right? And if they say yes, well, then you can, there's so much more you could do. And we could have 3 days on that product.
I think one thing we're going to be looking at is the alternate sites, sending out that type of communication, because then it cuts down on that paper copy. We're going to one bus in the morning, one bus in the afternoon, instead of the split custody divorce.
You're talking about
attorneys.
email. You're talking about email merge then. Is that what you're talking about? Because that would be where you would
merge.
do it.
Yes, with
Merge,
that.
email merge.
To connect
right.
a form with
Very
that,
cool.
because that's what we want to kind of get to the base of. Because
Absolutely.
really, it's more daycares that we have to address that with.
That's great. Yeah,
Mhm.
email merge is another one that we obviously did reports. So a couple years ago, we wanted to, because people are getting emails, right? And the whole thing, oh, they don't get email. No way. People are getting email 24 hours a day. You guys know that. And so the text is a little bit too intrusive. I hate getting texts on that kind of stuff. But you use those. So with combination of forums of just really better way to communicate with your clients, which are parents, right?
And it's also all searchable. I know that people have been able to, like, actually have an interchange with, an exchange with a parent and say, I never said that. And it pulls it up and go, no, you said that. You can find it quickly.
But also you could have templates. I think somebody just said that, all right, is that most of the time it's the same thing. You just want to replace the person's name and all that, right? But why retype that? So why
Just
not
don't
have
put student and parentheses, student
your
was
student?
in trouble. Your student was in try to
Insert,
remember to change
insert picture here.
that. Very good, very good. Tony, don't we have a lot of templates too? As people give us their ideas, we put those in there as well as a resource. Thank you. That was, boy, look at the conversation that we started with just that question. Wonderful, wonderful. Somebody else takeaway from this conference. Yes, over here.
So I haven't been using any of the Transfinder products, but we're going to ServiceFinder. And one of the big selling points is the office is using some limited Transfinder products. And we wanted them to communicate. And although a lot of the stuff on the service or Transfinder products are the same, you got the same filters, you got this and that, the same ServiceFinder, but they don't communicate. So, any of you using ServiceFinder, and how do you work around that? Because we're using a whiteboard to put buses down, so then the office has to change it, go in and do it, and if we bring it back up in the middle of the day, we just go and erase it, let them know.
So you're referring to, so in other words, if a vehicle is in ServiceFinder, so in other words, it's getting serviced, you want to make sure that your routing team knows that vehicle. There's several ways you could do that. There's several ways to do that. And obviously the automation we talked about yesterday, if some clients are going with Wayfinder, that's all automatic. So the whole, and I heard you guys talk about substituting vehicles, which is, listen, if you're gonna have StopFinder to communicate with parents, but then you didn't do the vehicle substitution, which is a lot of work. But with Wayfinder, it's automatic. It's fully automatic.
So can we kind of do that with Zonar as well, or?
Depends what you're using. You have tablets, but we could talk.
Yeah, that's
later.
a little more nuanced than I want to get in this webinar.
No, I think we could do. There's a lot of things we could do. Obviously, ServiceFinder it's been out for now a couple of years, and the new version, there's a lot.
6.0. So, yeah. Mike, I want to get into sort of kind of big picture. You talked a little bit. I know you and Lori are going to have to wrestle it out, and you sit next to each other here. You said one of the things you learned from this was the idea when you're routing, start with your PM. Tell me why, and Lori, tell him why he's wrong.
Okay, so if you have a amount of time between bell schedules, AM, you got 30 minutes between bell schedules. Well, PM, you still have that same 30 minutes. However, it's different in the PM because it's according to how long it takes those students to get loaded on the bus. So however much time it takes to load that bus, now you're minimizing the amount of time you actually have to take those students home and then get back to your next campus. So I always start with the PMs first because most of my phone calls come from PM problems. Okay. So I solve all my problems first, and then I can make a copy and duplicate those in the morning, and it's a lot easier because I have 99% on-time performance getting them to school. And my philosophy right now is get them to school, and then at the end of the day, we'll be by to pick them up at some point in time.
All right. And Lori, you had some other insights as well. And then, by the way, no, there's no 100%.
There's nothing wrong with what he's doing, okay?
We're all friends here.
good. We're all good. We run more routes in the PM than we do in the AM, but our district is heavily into programs. And they also have mandated in the past that they want the program children on their own buses. So we end up not being as efficient, which I'm working at changing that coming into the new year. But I understand what he's saying, but I'll just tell you this, and I'm going to beat you to the punch and we're going to segue maybe a little bit, but the aha moment for me in here was sitting in the map editing class with Devin, and he's talking about GPS Live. And I went, oh my gosh, because I drive buses when drivers don't show up in there and I'm on the bubble and I'm the last person in the building. It's like, gotta go, I gotta cover a route. Now I get on a route and I'm driving it the way it's written and the kids are screaming, you're going the wrong way, and all of this, and mayhem breaks out. And if we could implement GPS Live, because the drivers know, that's why we don't have as many, my seasoned drivers, I don't have problems with them getting kids to and from school. I mean, they get them home, they make it happen, but they're not telling me what they're doing. And then they miss work. And I always tell them, if you don't ever want me to know what you're doing, do not miss work. And I have to drive your best, because then I'm going to be coming to you going, what the heck, And with us having Zonar also, we have that capability now to take that and go, oh, look at that. He's driving it this way, and he's not doing all these extra turns, and he's reversed some stops and things, and we can make that happen. So maybe we could do that.
Well, what did you just tell me? What is your biggest problem?
Is what?
Is in the PM, right?
Well, we have more routes in the
Exactly.
PM.
Why do you have more routes in the PM?
Because we have program kids.
Right. So that's where you should start. That's where your focus should be.
Oh, I got what you're
There
saying.
we're going.
Focus on the.
Problems first before you tackle.
It's kind of like what I do when my wife gets very mad at me, but when I have a meal, I eat my vegetables first and get it over with. But I do change that sometimes because I'm like,
So he doesn't have any of his food touching each other.
I am that guy. She'll like put the peas in with the mashed potatoes and we put it in the refrigerator. I'm like, don't do that. They need separate homes. So somebody else with aha moments. Who had an aha moment? Here, go ahead.
One of the things that I made a note on, and you guys kind of brought it up, was we use Zonar as well, and the amount of reports that I run in Zonar and everything, I did not realize you can get right from Route Finder, and you don't have to log into a separate software system to kind of compare the maps. You can overlay that right over each other. So I'd say my aha moment was definitely how much of that GPS data you're able to pull. So if someone's not using a GPS software like Zonar or Samsara, definitely look into doing that as a business or a school district. It can help a lot with routing for sure. I've learned so.
Very good. Thank you. Somebody on the back over here. Very good. You got a aha moment here?
Well, I've been terrified to copy a route. Here, I knew I could do it. Now I know I can.
Oh, I like that. That's good. Very good. How about you guys in the back?
Route Finder and we use Stop Finder, but all the other products we love to do and all the way they communicate with each other is phenomenal.
Well, we used to use the expression all in one. For a while, we didn't want to be all in one, right, Tony? We actually would say, there's that, what's that expression? Master of none. But but what's that expression? I want to get the cliche right. Jack of all trades, master of none. We want to be master of one, right? And so other people that did other things, we would kind of, say, yeah, but they're not good at, they're just half baked. But then we're like, you know what? That's
right. That's really been. It's one of those things, and we've actually lost clients out of those things, and those are tough. That when hey, well, that's not working.
I don't know, that's not my product. And guess what? You guys know our team. They're always there trying to figure out other people's problems. And that's not fair to us. And then all of a sudden then we get penalized because we couldn't figure out brand X issue. No. And so we made a statement past couple of years that, you know, we're very limited now on which companies we're going to work with. The ones that we vetted out and they're great, they're compliment. Others are not complimenting us. And, you know, that's a tough business decision. And some of you are either here or out there right now saying, wow, why are you not going to continue working? Well, if we're already working with that company, we're not going to stop, but we're not bringing on any new clients that's going to use that. That's a tough business decision. Because thinking, what are you doing? Well, sometimes you have to do what's best for everybody.
And the other thing is this, I mean, there's only so many resources, right? So do you want those resources working, innovating on our solutions or working on patches?
Well, you know what it is? It's perfect. So we add features, and really, Service Finder is great product. So we're limited on how many things like the pre and post inspections that kind of products are out there. It's like, why? Why are we going to be limit ourselves? And really, Wayfinder, we almost like had to look at the least common denominator, and it ends up being like few features. So and now all of a sudden, as we're adding more features, these other companies just can't keep up. And so I could go on and on that. That was we got some heat. I got a lot of emails. I did. Disappointed type of emails, like, I'm disappointed you're doing this. Why are you doing this?
They
especially some of these companies you recommended us. It's like, I know, you're right.
But they did change their tune. A lot of those folks did.
Yeah.
You know, the conference was called, which had been our saying has been about, you know, one partner, one solution, and we talked about the power and you know, and the power of you. So we have just been impressed by just what you guys do every day, even this conversation, and how you get excited about things like a forum. You know, seriously, that's awesome. So I just wanted to, can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you so much. First of all, for those here and also those who are listening, you know, we are always looking for more stories. We are always looking for, you know, what you do to make your job better, to make your place more efficient, make your route safer. You know, we are all in this together. I'm not going to sing the High School Musical song, but I could if you really wanted me to. Did they? I think they said they wanted me to. No, I guess. But anyway, but we really are all in this together. You know, we really want to. And so please just email mystory@transfinder.com, and then I'll call you. And maybe you'll even be on a webinar and share your passion with what's worked for you.